When you hear the word professionalism, I think it's really easy to just picture like a stiff suit and a lot of corporate jargon.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the typical corporate drone stereotype.
Right, exactly. But what if the ultimate hack to undeniable credibility is actually what you do in, the grocery store line on a Saturday?
That is the big question.
It is. So today we are extracting the underlying architecture of credibility from a really highly practical guide. It's called The Fundamentals of Professionalism at Work and in Public.
And it is packed with great stuff.
Yeah, it really is. And we are going over this material with one specific goal for you, the listener. We want to extract actionable, everyday advice on maintaining professionalism anywhere you go.
Right, not just in the office.
Exactly. And we want to uncover the behavioral science behind how these seemingly small actions rapidly build massive credibility in your career and your life.
It's a huge topic.
Okay, let's unpack this, because looking at the source material, professionalism isn't about being this flawless, robotic person.
No, not at all.
It's actually portrayed as this daily conscious practice of respect and baseline emotional regulation.
Yeah, and I want you to visualize a truly serene, highly functional workspace for a moment.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Right, so people are moving with purpose, the communication is clear, and the tension is remarkably low.
Sounds like a dream, honestly.
Right. But that environment doesn't just happen by accident.
Yeah.
And it is certainly not the result of, like, a corporate mandate.
No, you can't just order people to be serene.
Exactly. It is built on the core thesis of this text, which makes a really crucial distinction right up front. Professionalism, it isn't about achieving perfection.
Right.
The concept of the flawless employee is a myth. Rather, the source defines it as the conscious, deliberate effort to act maturely and responsibly.
So it's a choice you have to keep making.
Yes, it's an ongoing behavioral practice, not a permanent state of being that you just unlock and forget about.
That makes a lot of sense. And to become that trusted professional, we actually have to look at what happens before a single word is even spoken.
Oh, the silent signals.
Yes, right. The guide goes deep into the visual cues and the time management choices that instantly establish or, completely destroy your credibility.
And they are so powerful.
They really are. And the very first pillar they analyze is punctuality.
Yeah, the underlying psychology of time management is fascinating because it basically acts as a primary filter for how people perceive your entire character.
Wow. Your entire character just from being on time.
I mean, yeah. Being on time isn't just about adhering to a schedule on a calendar. The text emphasizes that it is a fundamental sign of respect for other people's time.
Oh, that hurts. Because it's so true.
Right. When someone is consistently late, they are implicitly signaling that their time is, well, infinitely more valuable than the time of the people waiting for them.
The source gives a painfully relatable example of this, too. Imagine a team meeting.
Oh, we've all been there.
We have. Everyone is sitting there staring at the clock, just waiting for that one person who always strolls in 10 minutes after the hour.
Just completely killing the momentum.
Exactly. Think about the physiological response in that room. You start to feel annoyed. The collective momentum of the team halts.
Yeah, the text points out that the immediate result isn't just wasted time. It significantly fractures the trust within that group.
I always think of it like a movie trailer for your character. Punctuality sets the baseline expectation for everything that follows.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Yeah, if the trailer shows you can't manage a simple clock, the audience naturally assumes you can't manage a complex project or a massive budget.
The psychological term for what you're describing is a cognitive shortcut.
A cognitive shortcut.
Yeah.
Right.
The human brain is constantly looking for efficient ways to evaluate trustworthiness. If you demonstrate discipline in the highly visible, easily measurable metric of time.
Like showing up at 9 a.m. sharp.
Exactly. Observers will automatically extrapolate that discipline to your unseen work.
That is wild.
And the text extends this exact same principle to physical appearance.
Oh, right. The grooming stuff.
Yeah, it explicitly notes that establishing credibility does not require expensive clothing or designer labels. It's about personal hygiene. Clean hair, fresh breath, trimmed nails, and neat clothing.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate here for a second.
Sure.
Look, Silicon Valley totally disrupted this, right? We have billionaires wearing unwashed hoodies and unkempt hair running Fortune 500 companies.
That is true, yeah.
So hasn't the whole trimmed nails and neatly pressed clothes version of professionalism become a bit outdated. Like, if I am genuinely great at my job, does it really matter if I look a little disheveled?
It is really tempting to look at outliers and assume the rules have changed, but the behavioral science actually says otherwise.
Oh, really?
Yeah. What we're dealing with here is the halo effect.
Okay, what's that?
This is a well-documented cognitive bias where our overall impression of a person influences how we feel and think about their character and capabilities.
Okay, so if you look good, I think you're good at your job.
Essentially, yes. When the text advises maintaining clean hair and trim nails, it is talking about broadcasting a signal of detail orientation.
Ah, I see.
Right, so when people see that you take the time to manage the minute details of your physical presentation, their brains instinctively apply the halo effect.
So they assume you're also managing the details of your actual work.
Precisely. They assume that because you are disciplined in your appearance, you are mathematically disciplined in your coding or your analytics or whatever you do. It acts as an incredibly powerful, silent credibility booster.
Wow, that totally reframes the entire concept. It's not about following a dress code to please HR. It's about strategically utilizing cognitive biases to your advantage.
Exactly. It's a tool.
And speaking of establishing trust, the guide highlights honesty and integrity, specifically regarding mistakes as these ultimate credibility multipliers.
Oh, this is a big one.
Right, because the natural human instinct when you mess up a report or break a piece of equipment is to just hide it, sweep it under the rug, and hope nobody notices.
Yeah, but the vulnerability loop is what makes the professional approach so highly effective here.
The vulnerability loop.
Yeah. The guide insists that the professional response is to admit the mistake immediately and honestly.
Which is so hard to do in the moment.
It is, but think about it from a management perspective. Managers are constantly calculating risk.
True.
When an employee hides an error, they introduce an unknown, unpredictable risk into the system.
Which is a manager's worst nightmare.
Exactly. By proactively owning the error, you eliminate that unknown. You demonstrate a level of radical responsibility that actually short-circuits the manager's anxiety.
So you actually look better by admitting you messed up.
You gain vastly more credibility by owning the failure and presenting a solution than you ever could by pretending to be infallible.
That is such a huge takeaway. So that internal regulation we just talked about, taking a breath, admitting a fault, showing up cleanly and on time, that's the foundation.
It is the baseline, yeah.
But the real stress test of that credibility happens when the pressure is dialed up and you actually have to communicate with people.
Oh, absolutely, when the stakes are high.
Right. And the text gets very specific about the mechanics of communication, criticism, and the art of emotional control.
Yeah, the guide zeroes in on cooperative phrasing as a primary tool here.
Cooperative phrasing.
Right. It strictly advises against rude language, shouting, or insulting others, which, seem pretty obvious.
Yeah, hopefully we all know not to shout at work.
But the mechanics of the suggested alternative are highly strategic. Instead of throwing your hands up and saying, this problem is not my fault.
Which we all want to do sometimes.
Right, which immediately triggers a defensive, adversarial response in the other person. The guide suggests saying, let's work together to solve the problem.
Wow. You are essentially changing the geometry of the conversation.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, like, it's not my fault places you across the table from them, ready to fight. But let's work together mentally places you on the same side of the table, looking at the problem together.
Exactly. And the text highlights how this applies just as heavily to written communication, too.
Oh, the email etiquette section.
Yes. It stresses the importance of polite emails, starting with a simple good morning or dear sir or madam, and ending with thank you for your time or best regards.
I mean, does anyone still say dear sir or madam? But I get the point.
Well, starting an email with a courteous greeting isn't just about archaic etiquette. It actually serves as a social buffer.
A social buffer. Okay.
Yeah, in a fast-paced environment, a blunt, direct demand can read as an attack. Taking the 4 seconds to type good morning signals to the recipient's brain that this is a cooperative, non-threatening interaction.
That makes total sense.
It literally lowers their defensive guard before they even read the core request of your message.
But it gets significantly harder to maintain that cooperative stance when emotions are really running hot.
Oh, for sure.
The text addresses emotional control under extreme stress. Like, dealing with an actively angry customer.
Right, a very volatile situation.
And the suggested response isn't to defend yourself or shout back. It's to say, I understand your concern. Let me help solve the problem.
Which is very disarming.
It is, but let me challenge this with the text's specific example on handling criticism.
Okay, lay it on me.
The guide says, if a manager tells you your report needs more detail, an unprofessional person gets upset and complains. The professional person says, thank you for your feedback. I will improve the report.
Yes, that's the textbook response.
But isn't our fundamental evolutionary fight-or-flight response triggered when someone says our work isn't good enough? Like, how do you override millions of years of biology to just say thank you?
What's fascinating here is the mechanism is a deliberate override of what we call the amygdala hijack.
Amygdala hijack.
Yeah. When you receive criticism, your brain perceives it as a literal threat to your status,
Right.
triggering that defensive instinct.
Right, the fight or flight.
Exactly. But panicking, shouting back, or getting defensive only confirms to the manager that you are a volatile asset.
And nobody wants a volatile asset on their team.
Precisely. Professionalism, in this context, is like a social algorithm. Every time you consciously choose not to snap at an angry customer or a critical boss, you are essentially rewriting the code of that interaction.
Okay, I see.
By taking a literal breath and deploying the phrase, "thank you for the feedback," you short-circuit their expected feedback loop of anger or defensiveness. You literally force them to match your calm baseline.
Wow, so you prove you are the anchor in the storm.
Yes.
Because during emergencies or looming deadlines or major misunderstandings, organizations desperately look for the person who remains calm and focused.
They do. Those people become indispensable.
And that measured response scientifically proves you are that highly dependable person.
Exactly. And that emotional regulation doesn't exist in a vacuum either.
Right, it affects everyone.
It dictates your external reactions to everyone around you, which leads us to the 360-degree respect rule and the underlying power of teamwork.
Yeah, let's get into the 360-degree rule.
So respect is positioned by the text as the non-negotiable foundational pillar of professionalism. And it dictates that this respect must be applied uniformly, regardless of a person's status.
Okay, so not just the executive.
Right. The guide explicitly lists managers, coworkers, cleaners, security guards, customers, and visitors.
Basically anyone you cross paths with.
Every single individual in the ecosystem is owed the exact same level of kindness and dignity.
On the surface, rules like say good morning to people, don't interrupt, and don't yell sound like, honestly, literal kindergarten rules.
They do, yeah.
It can feel almost overly simplistic for an adult guide to career success.
But treating a security guard with the same deference you show the CEO is the ultimate integrity stress test.
Oh, a stress test.
Yeah. It signals to everyone observing you that your respect is an internal, non-negotiable value, rather than a transactional tool you only use when you want a promotion.
Oh, that is so true. People notice that.
That consistency is what builds authentic power. And the text also applies this directly to the concept of active listening.
It is so rare these days.
It really is. The guide points out that many people merely wait for their turn to speak, but true professionals listen carefully without interrupting.
Here's where it gets really interesting for you, the listener. Think about active listening not just as a polite habit, but as a rare, highly leverageable superpower in today's distracted world.
A superpower, absolutely.
Because in a busy office, almost everyone is holding their breath, formulating their counter-argument while the other person is still talking.
Just waiting to jump in.
Exactly. So if you are the person who genuinely absorbs what a coworker or a manager is saying without cutting them off, you instantly stand out.
You really do.
People are desperate to be heard. Giving them that psychological air builds intense loyalty.
And to add a layer to that loyalty, the text specifically bridges this behavior into teamwork dynamics.
Okay, how so?
Well, when a coworker is visibly struggling with a heavy workload or a complex task, the typical hyper-competitive corporate response might be to criticize them or use their failure to make yourself look better.
Right, the whole dog-eat-dog mentality.
Exactly. But the professional mandate is to offer immediate help.
Which fundamentally changes the culture of the entire team.
It creates a system of reciprocal loyalty. When you step in to help a struggling teammate, instead of throwing them under the bus, you reduce the systemic stress of the entire group.
That makes total sense. You build a safety net.
Right. The text notes that good leaders encourage teamwork and set positive examples. And you do not need the title of manager or director to exert leadership.
Wow.
By supporting the people around you and maintaining that 360-degree respect, You prove yourself as the natural de facto leader of the group.
So we've thoroughly mapped out the architecture of credibility inside the workplace. But the true test of this character isn't what you do when you're, getting paid to be polite.
No, the real test is out in the wild.
Exactly. The source material makes it clear that this respectful behavior doesn't just magically disappear the moment you clock out at 5 p.m.
It shouldn't anyway.
Right. True professionalism is a core value that inevitably spills over into the streets and the digital world. Let's look at professionalism in the wild.
Yeah, the guide pivots to public behavior because the anonymity of public spaces is where superficial professionalism breaks down.
Right, when nobody from the office is watching.
Exactly. It lists specific scenarios, like waiting patiently in a supermarket or bank line instead of pushing ahead.
Okay.
On public transit, maintaining a quiet volume so as not to disturb others, and offering your seat to elderly people, pregnant women, or disabled passengers.
Basic human decency stuff.
Yeah. It even extends to obeying traffic rules and not throwing trash on the street.
Okay, I have to ask the obvious question on behalf of the listener here.
Go for it.
Why should you care about how you act in a grocery store line on a Sunday? Like, does a potential employer or a high-value client actually care if you're a bit loud on a train, or if you cut someone off in traffic?
The concept at play here is behavioral bleed.
Behavioral bleed.
Yes, you cannot cleanly compartmentalize discipline. If you allow yourself to be aggressive and impatient in a bank line because you think no one important is watching, those neural pathways of impatience are being actively strengthened.
Oh, wow. So you're literally training your brain to be impatient.
Exactly. That lack of emotional regulation will inevitably bleed into a high-stakes client meeting. Furthermore, the text points out that how you behave in public reflects your actual internal values.
Who you are when no one is looking.
Right. Maintaining discipline when there is no immediate financial reward is the truest indicator of character.
And that lack of compartmentalization is completely amplified by the internet.
Oh, definitely. The internet changes everything.
The text brings up online professionalism, issuing a stark warning that employers routinely check social media accounts.
And they do. All the time.
Yeah. It specifically advises against posting offensive comments, spreading false information, or engaging in aggressive online arguments. Instead, professional people share positive content and express any disagreements politely.
Technology has permanently dismantled the boundary between your private life and your professional reputation.
That is a terrifying thought, but it's true.
It is. The digital permanence of an aggressive social media argument can instantly vaporize the credibility you spent years building in the office.
One bad tweet and it's all gone.
Exactly. And the discipline required to disagree politely with a stranger online or to offer your seat on a crowded bus is fueled by the exact same internal engine required to navigate a stressful project launch.
So it's all connected.
Yes, you are cultivating a singular identity of responsibility.
The text ties this all back to the concept of continuous learning, right? Because successful people understand that this behavioral mastery is never fully completed. They read, they adapt, and they practice these skills daily.
It requires constant calibration. Whether you are navigating a difficult conversation with an executive or just dealing with a painfully slow line at the pharmacy, you are continually refining that baseline emotional regulation.
We started this deep dive looking for the ultimate tips to rapidly build undeniable credibility. And I think the profound takeaway is that there is no secret code or complex strategy.
No, it's actually quite simple.
Yeah. Actionable credibility comes from mastering the mundane. It is the conscious choice to trim your nails. It is the discipline to be on time so you don't spike your team's cortisol levels.
Absolutely.
It's taking the 4 seconds to type "good morning" to create a social buffer. It is stepping into the vulnerability loop to admit when you messed up a spreadsheet. And it is treating the building's janitor with the exact same unyielding respect you give the CEO.
If there is one immediate application to implement from this guide today, it is mastering that moment of amygdala hijack.
Yes, that is such a powerful takeaway.
I highly encourage you to practice the physical act of taking a slow, deliberate breath the next time you face unwarranted criticism or the next time someone raises their voice at you.
Just pause.
Just pause. Deploy the phrase, "Thank you for the feedback," or "Let's work together to solve this." Observe how rapidly that rewires the interaction, diffuses their tension, and firmly establishes your authority in the room.
So what does this all mean? We've analyzed the mechanics of human behavior from morning routines to social media habits. But I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder that builds on the underlying psychology we've discussed today.
I love these final thoughts.
The text mentions that good leaders set positive examples, often without saying a word.
Right.
If true professionalism means maintaining a calm, polite, and respectful baseline everywhere, from a high-pressure boardroom crisis to a chaotic supermarket line, could your silent, unwavering emotional regulation actually be subtly training the nervous systems of everyone around you?
Oh, that is a fascinating idea.
Think about it. What if the ultimate hack to creating a better work environment and a significantly better community isn't about lobbying for sweeping policy changes, but simply having the immense personal power to be the one person in the room who never ever loses their cool?